Good morning, everyone. Today we have with us Advocate Bharat Garg. Advocate Bharat completed his BA LLB honors from Amity Law School, GGS IPU, in 2017, after which he has been a regular face before the Hon'ble High Court of Delhi and the Supreme Court. He specializes in company law, infrastructure-related matter, commercial and arbitration matter. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ritu.
Right.
Yeah, please.
Sir, to start with, tell us something about your journey as a lawyer. Was law always your desired field?
But in fact, that's a very tricky question for me. But I can just say that, my encounter with this profession was not very remote. Reason being because I was myself born in a family of lawyers. But the desirability to choose this profession came, much later when I started studying about this profession. And in fact, I really wanted to do something which actually attracts, and pushes the intellect me. And in fact, when I started studying this profession, when I started reading the judgments, then I think I started getting a hunch that yes, this is something which I can, take it part of my life.
Right. And how would you describe your experience in litigation so far? And who were your mentors, professionally and personally, throughout this journey?
So I'll just answer your second question first. See, I had many teachers in my life. I consider myself a student of law. But so far as my personal life is concerned, I don't know if you heard about him, but I take him as my mentor in life. So whenever I'm facing any challenge or anything, I go back to his guidances, which really help me move forward. So far as the second question is concerned, I think litigation has been a very learning experience for me. It's not, I think I still consider myself too young to answer that. It's only been 5.5 years for me. But it is something which has always helped me, to make mistakes and learn from them. And in fact, because of the advantage of the age I have, I think the mistakes are even pardonable by the courts of law. So this has been a good experience. I can in fact paraphrase.
Right. 5 years are too much, sir. I would like to differ on that. Anyway, during law school, had you always been drawn towards practice, or were there other dimensions that interested you? What drew you towards the practicing side of this field?
Well, I think I never, really made any decision by considering its effect, what I will have in future. So whatever I enjoyed, I have carried it forward. So, and in fact, when I started studying law, the reason why, litigation side attracted me was because of number one, which in fact had just mentioned. The the driving curiosity one develops when dive into the ocean of the research you have, and the submission you make before the courts of law, which in fact is triggered due to the creativity you develop, by, and in fact by the time you spend in this profession. So I think these are these basic things that have drawn me to the practicing side of this field. Whenever I've seen, whenever I have gone to the courts and saw, respected seniors and the honorable judges, present their case and, clarify on each point, I think that is something which, drove me to the practice.
I totally agree. You've also dealt with a lot of arbitration disputes. What are the reasons why India hasn't become a global arbitration hub like Singapore or London? What steps should the government take, in your opinion?
See, that's a very important question that you have asked. And I think why that question is important is because answering that question involves, analysis, and in fact, doing a thorough research about, the commercial, the in fact significance of commerce in the country. So when you talk about arbitration, I think that's a very, I mean, but it's not a very old law that India has, right? Of course, our country is not even old enough because, we in 75th year, of our independence. But the problems we face today in the arbitration scope is number one that, you know, we at time, had to go through a transition, from the judicial went from a place when we did not have an arbitration, from the place we had the arbitration, but we had too much judicial intervention, then to a place when, we have the arbitration, but we need to regulate the judicial intervention. So I think we are right now, on theoretically on the third phase of this. But the major flaw is because of the judicial intervention. Considering the orthodox procedure we have. I mean, not to say orthodox, of course, but the set adversarial procedure we have. And secondly, our own hesitance to give up to arbitration. Because even, we go and ask a common man, private parties usually don't go into arbitration. They want something or a seat of a, of a judge rather than of an arbitrator.
Right.
So I think we have a lot of, basic problems like this, which is coming in the way of making our country a global hub in the arbitration.
Right. Since you've also dealt in diverse commercial, corporate, and infrastructure matters, what is the reason for the slow infrastructure growth in India, and what steps would you recommend to the government for speedy resolution of disputes?
See, that involves going into social as well as political aspects of, our country. But you talk about India, and when you talk about India, our country has gone through a lot of, constitutional revolution, right from the moment when the right to land and right to property became a legal right, when initially it was a fundamental right.
Right.
It is, in fact, land, if you talk about, is one major reason why our, infrastructure on what infrastructure develops. So if there are problems in acquiring the land, right, you cannot blame either the contractor or the, authority with respect to it.
Right.
And secondly, people, if in fact our country and our people have too much attachment with their lands. In fact, me personally have my own, set of bonding which where the place I grow. So whenever suppose any project has to be initiated on a land, where there has been a residential area or some kind of an obstruction is there on the, ROW handing over, then, there's a long term delay that happens to acquire that land, to rehabilitate those people.
Right.
So this is one of the reasons I think why infrastructure takes a backseat in our country, which is of course justifiable. Secondly, in a mixed economy like ours, we have a socialist as well as capitalist society, right? So we are in fact born on the principles of democracy, where the constitution plays the most fundamental role. We need to balance out the interests of people vis-a-vis the interests of the government, vis-a-vis the interests of the society. Not, so if in our place, if some other country would have been there, I don't think it could have reached this spot where we have, even in the infrastructure growth today. So we are, of course, heading towards, we are going and proceeding in making our country more infrastructurally capable. And it will take time. But you have to give some time to this country.
True. Since you have so much experience in litigation, do you think our present legal education system enhances the skills of our students to the optimum, or the same can be solely done through professional experience?
Both are required. Must say that, to be able to understand the significance of the dispute resolution. you need to understand that, in fact, one needs to understand that academic also forms a very crucial part of this, profession. But because practice itself is also very much important, because you cannot apply academics in thin air. You need to apply the facts in reality. One needs to then, of course, play utmost significance to understand how things happen in the world. So, yes, there has to be a collaboration between both academic and practice. Coming to, our legal education system, we see, if bar council or different authorities can actually collaborate with the education management of the different law schools to provide an atmosphere where children learn, and not only about the academic perspective to the laws, but also understand inherently, what is the purpose and what happens in reality. I think that will also be very much important.
Right. Very right, sir. And so, if you were to suggest three changes in our legal education system, what would they be?
First would be the collaboration,
Right.
as I say, and secondly would be if the alumni of a law school, they can really play their part
Right.
by sharing their own experiences in their law colleges. I think if they can give their best lectures, so that is second. I think can also help in making our legal education more, practice oriented. And thirdly, you know, when as a student of law, when we sit in the class, when we see a senior, designated member of the bar coming to teach us the law, I think without undermining the ability of teachers who are, of course, learned professors, they have, distinguished themselves in their specialized expertise. They can also play an equal important role, and I think that will be most interesting to see for the students.
Great. These were some really good points, sir. Thank you. So, what would you suggest to our new graduates looking to participate in the Honorable High Court and the Supreme Court?
See, I will not recommend. In fact, I can just share from my own experience that directly go to the High Court and Supreme. It's very equally important to understand the procedure of law,
Hmm.
which you can only one can only understand one, practices in the trial. When you know what is the code of civil procedure, how civil disputes are regulated, how criminal trial take place, which of course, one once appeal, and of course when it reaches after subsequent round of litigation to High Court and Supreme Court. So at that point in time, if you go and directly in Supreme Court, then you might have some challenges to understand the procedure. But that is, of course, coming from not from my limited experience, but from the guidances that I have got from my own seniors. So that is, I think, the best advice that I got to understand the trial code, first, then understand the High Court and Supreme Court. But I think that's once one knows about the procedure of laws, it's one of the most thrilling and challenging atmosphere you get to be able to spend your time at. So that is, of course, always look forward to do. Discouraged by the fact that there is some challenge you might find financially, or there are some struggle that one has to face, because though it is struggling, but the reward will also be equally uh, profitable. So I think one of the greatest profession in litigation, I think one must definitely start with as a lawyer, as a law student, in fact.
Right. And talking about guidances, are there any memorable experience in practice which you would like to share?
Oh yes, I in fact, I at one point in time you started writing. What do you say? These. I'll just cut. I mean, we might have to paraphrase this again.
Okay.
So pause that.
So, talking about guidances, are there any memorable experiences in practice which you would like to share?
In fact, couple of. I must mention that at one point in time I started writing blogs, and one of the blogs I had shared was describing few of my experiences. In fact, which were humorous, but at the same time were learning. So I may recall this was one of the matter. This was one of the experience I had about how unruly a cause list can travel in the court. And if
Okay.
yes, so I had two matters listed in district court, and both the matters were listed in parallel courts, right next to each other.
Okay.
Surprisingly, both were being taken up, at the same speed. So the cause list was, in fact, being taken up by the learned judges at the same speed, and my matter was listed, in both the courts at the same sequence. So I thought, okay, how would I be able to manage that? So, when I went into when I went inside one court, I thought, okay, let me just focus on this court first. I'll not focus on that court. I got done with the matter, and I think there was no goof up there. But of course, when my clerk came and told me, sir, the matter has of course started in the other court, and in that court the stakes were too high.
Okay.
So that is the reason I ran and went inside the court before the second judge. So without understanding, what's going on in the court, I just started, saying a lot of, asking a lot of queries to this, that, my lord, what happened? My lord, no, 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 please, please, I am sorry, I was not able to. And the learned judge was just patiently, just tolerating my words at that point in time. Right after, one of the mistake when the learned judge was dictating the order, and then I realized that, okay, what my co-counsel had said.
Okay.
So we tend of got into an argument with the judge.
Okay.
So the learned judge then, shouted at me.
Okay.
He said, "That's now I am dismissing the case in against you. It's enough."
Okay.
So I said, "My lord may not do that injustice." But then he asked me, okay, after I persistently, was there, and my lord, I apologize for my behavior in the court. I think then the judge asked me, okay, or what year are you in? So I said, sir, this is my first day. Yesterday I got my enrollment. And then he
Oh,
laughed. So I think, yes. So I think that was one experience that taught me that, never to, be impolite in the court, never to lose your calm in the court. So that's one part of it. Second experience would be when I was with one of the senior of mine. So we were to cross-examine one of the witnesses. So when we were inside the court, just before the matter, was called, sir, just whispered me, Bharat, can you come outside for a moment? I said, no, no problem, sir. When I came out, my senior told me that, Bharat, I want to take an adjournment. What should I do?
okay.
Fourth time we have appeared in this matter, we are taking adjournment after adjournment.
Mm.
We don't want to cross-examine. And the difficulty was the other witness was also, the witness from the other side was also there on that day.
Okay.
So what I was able to come up with, I said, sir, why don't you say that you have some problem with your ears? So
Oh,
so
okay.
so, so
Got
sir
it.
took that seriously, and when we went inside the court, the judge asked Mr. I mean, I will not name my senior, but are you ready to cross-examine? I said,
Oh, okay.
actually, I speak today. And then I was like, sir, today you were supposed to say you have problem with
You
your
cannot
ears, not
learn.
your speaking.
Right. Right.
So I think that so so and after of course on the personal ground, lawyers do accommodate each other. So the other counsel was also very much supportive that okay, senior of course is there, then of course you have to give him that respect. But right after the judge adjourned the matter, she said very a statement she made, and that was made very silently.
Okay.
And our senior actually heard that,
Good
and
idea. Okay.
and he in fact objected to that. And that time just said, Mr. You said that you were not able to hear or speak.
Oh,
So
okay.
right. So that was also one of the I think memorable experience in court you have. So that
Right.
was just on a lighter note.
Right. It was quite interesting though. So I'm sure since you had such a learning, is your firm hiring interns at the moment so that they can also learn? And if so, if there's any opportunity open, how can they apply or reach to your office?
Yes, of course. I think we have our website, so that gives all details. So it's all lknbj.com. They can surely have a look there, and they'll get everything.
Right.
We are
Thank
equally
you.
active on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah, sure. LinkedIn is pretty active these days. And
Right.
any lastly, but any word of advice to the students of law?
I think that's a very difficult question to ask from someone who has not spent many years in this profession, but I'll try my best. I think I myself require advice from our seniors. So with that humility, I think my only advice is just to treat everyone with respect, and to consider oneself as a student of law, because this is a very vast field, and the opportunities you get are also innumerable. So one must always be open to an opportunity, irrespective of the financial gain, whether it provides or not provide. Because as a student, any opportunity that is helping you learn, that knowledge will never go in vain. So I think it can be my only advice, at this point in time.
No, you can continue.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So I think this
actually,
can be my only.
I'll do one thing. I'll pause it. Um, Sir, lastly, but any words of advice to the student of law?
I think it's a very difficult question for me to answer, but I'll still try my best. And difficult being because I am myself, very young, and myself seek guidances whenever I require. I think one must always consider oneself as a student of law. So even if you are a student, a lawyer, one must have this, mindset that wherever you are, you should take each and every moment and seize that to learn from that surrounding, either in court or in these senior briefings or in the time briefings. And number two, one must never hesitate to cling on the opportunities one gets,
Right.
irrespective of the financial incentive. So even if you're not financially getting incentivized, the knowledge you get will of course never go in vain. So one must be always open to opportunities.
And with that, we've come to an end of our interview today. However, sir, you've been incredibly kind and generous with your time and guidance here today. We really appreciate your candor, especially. Thank you. We wish you all the very best and thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you so much. Thank you for patient listening.
Thank you.